Greetings, my friends. Reformed Stoic here. It's been a bit since I've made a video. My content has primarily been in the form of live streams as of late. I figured that I should go ahead and give my thoughts on what I think that my channel is about. I was debating between calling this video what my channel is about and what I think my channel is about. I think that I'm going to call it what my channel is about, but it's just my thoughts. Certainly there will be people out there who disagree and want to label it something else. It's been a bumpy road for your friend, the Reformed Stoic. I've made some enemies along the way. I've made some very powerful enemies along the way, and I've made some very pathetic enemies along the way as well. What I think that I'm about, I'm going to try not to dance around it too long. I think we're shooting for maybe 10 to 15 minutes here. I just don't want this rant to just elevate into outer space and go for half an hour or longer. I think what I've thought for a long time is that it's kind of a rehab for people who have been in some very ugly parts of the internet, which leads to some of my quote-unquote conspiratorial views that these parts of the internet very well could be honeypots that are led by FBI agents, CIA, or God knows what, some sort of an agency that is trying to, one, mislead young men, two, radicalize young men, and then ultimately poison young men. And something that's been on my mind a lot lately is how so many honeypots and things on the internet are meant to just poison you with hatred. And I'm hesitant to even say the name of this website where I fell into and that a lot of young men are falling into. I made a video about it once, and I received a hate speech strike. And I thought that was very strange because I was explaining how the message of this website was wrong and how people were being misled and dragged into hatred. And I thought I did a very good job of that. But, sometimes YouTube hears a couple of words and, just punishes you for maybe trying to defend something that is ultimately, you're getting punished because they think you're doing the opposite. Now, that's just giving YouTube the benefit of the doubt, because I think my channel is low-key getting to the level where people with backdoor access are doing very shady things to attack me. So what I think my channel is about is saving people from hatred. That sounded arrogant. I'm not saving anyone from anything. I'm trying to drag people away from hatred. I'm trying to help share the experiences that I've had that have pulled me out of very dark places. A little bit about my life. People here have heard it 1,000 times. They've made memes about it. I'm from a very small town. The story of my life from 6th grade on, well into my mid-20s, was that I played the drums. I went to Berklee College of Music. In my small town, it was something that was kind of hyped up. It seemed like it was kind of a big deal. Like I was going to go be some hotshot musician. I went there for 2 years. I couldn't afford to continue. And at that point, it was evident that I screwed up. I had all kinds of student loan debt. I stayed in Boston for a few years, played in metal bands. Those were probably the best times of my life. Those were the best friends I ever had. That was some of the times where I really felt like I belonged. But it was ultimately going nowhere, and I was just kind of stumbling to this point where it's like, I can't really maintain this lifestyle. I'm having trouble holding down these crappy minimum wage jobs that I'm getting. They're ultimately not even really paying my bills. My parents were helping me out. And it just all fell apart, to which point I moved to Las Vegas, where I was able to stay in my parents' vacation home and try to think about the next part of my life. Well, that was 2014, and the next part of my life just never really seemed to come, until it did. I'm not going to go over all the things that happened in Vegas. That seems like it could be a completely different video. eventually I made this channel. It started at UNLV. I believe I made it in my last semester of UNLV. I went there for 3 semesters, transferred all my credits. I was doing a philosophy major. At one point, I was doing a dual major in philosophy and computer science. Didn't really get too far into the computer science. Again, things to explain in another video. My channel started off in a very dark and injured place. I had been speaking from the perspective of a lot of these kind of hashtag movement groups. It's not a movement. A lot of these people want to say they're not movements, but I was speaking from kind of like a MGTOW place, eventually kind of a black pill place, and this is the place that a lot of young men in the West are finding themselves today. And ultimately what guided me out of these places, and really going back to the, de-radicalizing, because, MGTOW is only so radical. The black pill is only so radical. But both of these movements are definitely not unaware of that shall not be named. I think I should be able to say the name of this website without getting a hate speech strike. 4chan. And I will not say the board on 4chan, but I think we all know what board I'm talking about. I discovered this board around 2017. I watched a video called The Year That 4chan Won after Trump won. I was not some huge Trumper. I had caught wind of Trump, and I was somewhat amused by his approach. And after he had won the election, I found this video, The Year That 4chan Won. I found this board on 4chan. And, I'm just a lonely guy with not a whole lot going on. And I start clicking around, and I start reading things, and I start tumbling down this rabbit hole that a lot of people know about. But the talk of this place is not really escaping this place on the internet. So what's my channel about? I think that's enough of an intro. It seems like the more I talk, the more I have to talk. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut back to what is my channel about. I stumbled into some dark rabbit holes that poison you. And once this poison makes its way too much into your life and you start hashing out some of these thoughts that are tossed around on these parts of the internet, you could ultimately be thrown in the garbage. When people see you as someone who identifies with this place and these thoughts and these memes, you will be discredited and you will be thrown away because you will be seen as a hateful person. You will be seen as someone who has radical, violent ideas. And I was lost. I was hurting. I was looking for answers. And this board gave me the answers that I thought I was looking for at the time. I was in a very dark place spiritually as well. I had stumbled into the occult. This was a long time in the making. I had gone through my atheist phase in high school, but started tiptoeing towards a more spiritual thing. I read horoscopes. I used to do weird stuff, like when I'd be in road trips with my parents, I'd count trees on the side of the road or look for patterns and close my eyes while I was walking. I don't even know how to explain it. I was this weird spiritual weirdo, and eventually that led to me going to an occult shop and buying tarot cards. I got into reading tarot cards, and then that was near the end of my time in Boston, moved to Vegas, start tumbling down this occult rabbit hole. Before you know it, I'm in these weird, left-hand path orders and whatnot. And I feel like I know people who had gotten into a much more organized, serious place with that. I had never, went to any rituals with a bunch of people or anything, but it was enough. It was more than enough for me to feel guilty about it now as a Christian. And I feel like I've been maturing a lot as a person. I feel like I'm almost ready to be a person who walks around in daylight and associates and shakes hands with regular people who are seen in daylight and are around family members and children and are functioning members of society. Now, unfortunately, due to my past, and dude, somewhat recent past, I mean, you know, all the worst things that I did arguably are like 2 years in the past at this point. I have a reputation as an emotional person. I've had some outbursts. I've said some offensive things, and unfortunately, I didn't realize that I was going to be targeted, and I carelessly said some locker room talk, if you will. I said some things that I did not think were going to be paid attention to and clipped and monetized. But what happened, and there's some nasty YouTube channels run by shady people who are trying to push my worst moments in everybody's face. So what's my channel about? This is more like, think of this more like a poem at this point. I keep saying what's my channel about, and I keep drifting off because skimming down my channel, well, that's very difficult to understand. I got Dragon Ball Z AMV mashups. I got footage of what I claim to be evidence of gang stalking and CIA agents disguised as mailmen. I got meme videos and comedy. It's a smorgasbord of a lot of what I'm about. I'm a very chaotic person, and it's regretful because I feel like if I wasn't a chaotic person and I had the right upbringing, I could be like a scholar, a renowned intellectual, someone working a high-status, white-collar position, someone making a lot of money, somebody with the whole nine, you know? I mean, maybe just making it in drums like I originally sought out to, because I'm still good at that. It's still something that I do. I'm still in it. I mean, I'm not in it. I'm not really in it, so to speak, but I play better than I've ever played. I'm still making gains. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to go to these guys who are going through this process where you're going to get obliterated, man. You're in parts of the internet where people are starting to identify as Nazis, I guess you could say. Did I ever identify as a Nazi? I didn't think that I did, but it gets to a point where you basically like think all the same things that Nazis think, and then you laugh hysterically when anybody accuses you of being a Nazi. It's a very dark place, and I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the modern left and modern Democrats. Maybe that seems like that came out of nowhere, but the left is also being trained to hate. And they would burst out laughing when I say that. See, one of the things I'm touching upon here is the Hegelian dialectic, and how basically both the right and the left are controlled by devious elements of the state. And I feel like what I've noticed over all of these years is they're poisoning you with hatred. The left is being poisoned with hatred. I'm not going to say of what specifically. The right is being poisoned with hatred. And I'm also not going to say of what specifically, but I think that's probably a bit more obvious. Racism, anti-Semitism, and there are still a lot of people on my channel who are going to giggle when I say that. Because a lot of the people who watch my channel are still a part of this space on the internet. Oh my gosh, you're horrible. You're scum. I'm turning off the video. You're a horrible person. Because that's my criticism of the left is like, we need to start seeing the big picture. You guys have been brainwashed. I've been brainwashed all kinds of times in my life, but you're not better than me. I'm not better than you. Somebody who was radicalized by Antifa and wanted to go beat up a bunch of white people in gated communities, you're not any better than somebody in the alt-right who's on 4chan saying a bunch of anti-Semitic stuff. And you could debate that. Sure, you could debate the utilitarianism of like, well, this kind of hatred isn't as bad as this hatred, and that hatred's not as bad as this hatred. I have had a very powerful transformation through Christ. And I've been scared as a Christian because that's a very popular point in preaching, that you're going to have this transformation through Christ. And I don't want to take this as an opportunity to denomination bash. Maybe it has something to do with my childhood. My family tried to raise me Catholic. My dad went to a Catholic school. My mom comes from a Catholic family. I fell away from the Catholic Church, and I feel like my life has just been this great big circle that's leading me back to the Catholic Church. To be honest with you, like, I might not even keep going in 3 weeks from now. Why? Because I might not be allowed to, because nobody likes me. And I want that to change, because I'm becoming, like I said, mainstream. You can put my picture in the paper, shaking hands with regular people, hanging out with your family, at barbecues where kids are there. I don't want to be seen as extreme. I don't think I'm a bad person. I've said some things that I regret. I've done some things I've regret. I've associated with some things on the internet that I regret. So what is my channel about? I want to help you leave behind what you're a part of. And like I just said, there's still people at my channel who are rolling their eyes. There's still people who are part of these hateful groups. I'm trying to pull them out of there. I'm trying to show you that you've been misled. And a funny theme on my channel is I'm getting bullied by incels. Again, just kind of like throwing it out there. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some super organized, perfect, like, oh, here's my PhD dissertation for my graduation. This is a mess. I'm a mess. My life is a complete mess. I've boasted about my IQ a few times. I've boasted about my skills. I mean, if anything's evident that that stuff doesn't matter, it's me, okay? But, oh man, I might even have to edit this a little bit. This is just spiraling out of control here. I want to pull people out of hatred, man, because it's really scary. These things are scaring me. I'm pointing out like government corruption, and it goes much deeper than that, my friends. This is a spiritual battle. These are principalities that we are dealing with. I recently looked up the definition of principalities. Forces that are led by a prince. And I believe that prince to be the Dark One himself. Hatred, my friends, it will poison you. A very wise creature once said, "Fear leads to anger, and anger leads to hatred, and hatred is the path to the dark side." I believe that. And I'm not really a huge Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I've seen myself tumble down this hatred rabbit hole. My memory works in an interesting way. I feel like I have a photographic memory. If not, it's a very good memory, and I can kind of just look over my life and see what happened, and it's mind-blowing. The way that I fell away from the Catholic Church, sucked into atheism, sucked into television, into death metal, into the occult, into darkness, into hatred. I've seen it. I've seen me get sucked into the darkness from being a very nice and innocent boy, and I want to help other people out of that. And sometimes I think the best way to do that is by relating to people. I know memes. I know Pepe the Frog. I know making fun of leftists. I know making fun of feminism. And I'm not going to get away with this. People know that I have some resentment towards women, as a lot of men do. Girls, some of these statistics that are floating around lately, backed up by articles, 60% of universities are women. I'm seeing that like 7 million men have completely dropped out of the workforce and dating and education. I think it's more than that. That's like 1/10 of the working male population. I used to see some studies about like half of men in UK universities are single. Some of these studies are just kind of disappearing. I feel like a lot of this stuff is getting covered up. Society is hard on men. If you didn't make it, it's because you're a loser and you deserve to fail. Forget about you. If you ever were associated with these movements on the internet, you're a bad apple, you're toxic, you're full of hatred. Forget about him. He's in the garbage. I've been thrown in the garbage. I climbed up out of the garbage can, man. And I mean, yeah, I climbed out of the garbage can and I'm running around, I'm yelling, and nobody's paying attention to me. It's like, hey, you belong in the garbage can. Get back in the garbage can. And it's wrong, man. And the people who are saying that, you're indoctrinated by hatred too. You're tipping your nose at these alt-right people, but you don't even see that you're also indoctrinated by hatred. You guys, it's going to take it. It's like, hey, you know what? That guy over there, that black guy, he was a Black Panther, and he hated white people, but he wants to change. Can you accept that? That guy over there was just about to become a neo-Nazi, and he hated black people, but he wants to change. Can you accept that? Can you guys accept people who want to change, or is it once in the garbage, always in the garbage? Because that's basically cancel culture. And there's a lot of leftists who roll their eyes at cancel culture because, oh, well, there's a lot of people who aren't getting canceled. This is like communism, NKVD, useful idiot. This is the kind of mentality that's developing. There's a very dangerous mentality involving hatred and discarding people and throwing people away and group mentality and ganging up on people. This is what social media was about. If y'all don't know, DARPA had some strange program. You can probably Google it from what I'm saying. I can't remember what it was called. DARPA had some weird, sort of like a surveillance program, and they threw it away, and then, here comes Facebook, or here comes MySpace, right after they supposedly shut down this program. We're living in a sea of psyops. We're living in a sea of like military, government, CIA agency psyops. You're probably rolling your eyes at that. I don't care, because guess what? It's even deeper than that. The Bible is real, and we're living in a kind of spiritual battle that is just going to make your eyes roll so much that you're not going to be able to see straight anymore. But this is reality, and it's what I've experienced, and I'm filled with love, and it's really sickening that somebody like me could get discarded, because I fell into something that was put there irresponsibly, that's being allowed to continue, that's being pushed, that's being supported by government agencies. Just like the opposite side of the Hegelian coin is also being sponsored by government agencies. There are government agencies that want you to hate. Now, hate isn't compatible. It's not one size fits all. It's going to be hard to get women to hate other women. It's going to be hard to get white people to hate other white people. So it's custom made for you. Are you tall? Let's hate short people. Are you short? Let's hate tall people. And I feel like I shouldn't say it that way, because I feel like whenever I try to say something real, I get hit with a hate speech strike. Does this sound like I'm somebody who's trying to teach people to hate right now? I'm literally trying to teach people to stop hating. And I'm worried that I'm going to get a hate speech strike. But you know what? Hey, who owns YouTube? Google. And who owns Google? The CIA, baby. I'm not making this stuff up. They want you to hate. And when I get to the point where I'm really well spoken and I'm sounding like less of like some like edgy alt-right memer and more like somebody who's like, wow, this guy's actually trying to like help people, and he's actually scratching the surface of something that's really serious, and he like wants to save the world from hatred and evil. That's when my life is really going to be in danger, because I've already exposed a lot of targeting that's been happening in my life. And I fear, friends, that the closer I get to who I need to be, or I'm less like some edgy memer and more like a Martin Luther King, more like a JFK, more like a Tupac. I'm tempted to throw Tupac on that list. When I'm more like somebody who's really trying to make a big difference, well, what happened to all of those people? What do you think might happen to me? And I don't even care at this point, because this life has just become something so fascinating, so enthralling. I have enjoyed this experience. This has been an experience. And I'm in it with all of y'all, man. And it's just like, whoever you are, bro, if you hated me for whatever reason, if you're a girl who hated me because I'm ugly, I ain't mad at you. If you're a black guy who hated me because I'm white, I ain't mad at you. If you rightly hated me because I hated you from a really ugly place, I ain't mad at you. I understand. Whoever you are, whatever you've been a part of, man, I understand. I'm not somebody to judge anybody. But Jesus said that whoever is without sin should cast the first stone. And that's what I feel like a lot of people have forgotten. And we're living in dark times, my friends. And I think in times like these, the kind of people who might, they're going to sneak up on you, the helpers, the people who are going to push you in the right direction. It should be some shiny, tall, perfect person with a perfect rap sheet from Harvard. That's who it's supposed to be. But let's be real, this life isn't how it's supposed to be. Nothing's the way it's supposed to be, man. So I feel like God wants me to help people. And one of the things that the Bible teaches you is to stop what you're doing. Like, I wanted to be a famous rapper. I wanted to be a famous drummer. I wanted to get a lot of recognition for my musical talents. I think Jesus is saying, you're going to have to put that down. Doesn't mean I'm not allowed to rap or play drums or whatever, but I gotta answer the call, man. I gotta pick up this cross and follow Christ. And that could mean a lot of terrifying things for me, and that could mean that my life never evolves past this apartment and this meager lifestyle that I live. And I'm okay with that. I have a message to share. And it's not coming from a place of arrogance, despite a lot of clips of me being extremely arrogant. It's coming from a place of God has shown me things through my life experience. I believe that the way my life is unfolded and the way my memory works, it's like God is speaking to me through my life experience. And he's taught me a lesson of hate. How you can just be a regular person and everything can just seem normal. And you can just stumble across this stuff and it seems like it's friendly and it's your friend. It's like, hey, buddy, I understand you. Oh, you're a lonely guy. Hey, man, we're all lonely guys. And hey, don't worry. And, you know, people can seem like they're your friends and they're filling your head full of toxic and they're pulling you to your destruction. And one day you're just going to wake up and you're just going to be a piece of garbage. And there's not a lot of people who are going to pull you out of that, man. And that's something that makes me really sad. Because I perceive it as a betrayal, an abandonment. I'm somebody who's been discarded and abandoned many times in my life. And I mean it when I say nobody belongs in the trash. That's who I think I am. That's what I think my channel's about. I'm the Reformed Stoic. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. And I want to rid the world of hatred as much as I can. That's what my channel's about. God bless.